Good morning, Knights. I'm Cody Poor.
And I'm Adrian Ramirez, and you're watching Knights News.
Welcome back to another episode of Knights News.
Yearbook is asking you to send in photos to be featured this week. Please remember that photos must be appropriate and follow CDC guidelines.
This past week, Mr. Dawson sent out another email to the kids of SMHS. In the email, he informs that Zoom classes will only be accessible through SMUSD accounts.
He also touches on academic dishonesty and reminds that cheating, theft, plagiarism, unauthorized collaboration, and fabrication will not be allowed in San Marcos High and will result in a zero uncorrelated assignment.
This past week, Knights News team member Maddie Perkins interviewed the new acting superintendent, Dr. Tiffany Campbell, to ask questions regarding her new position in SMUSD, as well as our district's plan moving forward.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany Campbell. I am your current acting superintendent for SMUSD. I've had a long tenure with the district. I was principal of San Marcos High School, principal of San Marcos Middle School, in addition to being an assistant principal at San Marcos High School when I first came. This is my 15th, maybe 16th, but definitely 15th year in the district. And it has been a long and great partnership that I've had with the district.
What's your opinion on how distance learning is impacting students' education at this point in time?
Distance learning is hard. It's hard. I have a 7th grader and I see her, she's at San Marcos Middle School. So I know firsthand that distance learning is hard. I think from a positive standpoint, what we experienced in our emergency distance learning when we first left in the spring, what we have now, we have a much more robust remote instruction schedule as well as remote instruction learning. I think we are definitely much better than we were. Remote instruction, however, is just that, remote instruction. There are things that you cannot get from remote instruction that you can only get from being in a classroom. When you are on video, it's very difficult for a teacher to read the room. It's super difficult for the teacher to read the room. If our students don't have their cameras on, that makes things more difficult. I can speak from experience of watching my daughter. If she doesn't have her camera on and she is more distracted. She has things that are next to her. So yes, I'm listening to the teacher, but I have my cell phone right here. It's just different, and it's a lot easier to get distracted. The other piece of that is learning is a social function. Yes, you can read, yes, you can do assignments, yes, you can study, but it is different when you are in a classroom, in a group with other students. You are learning from other students, you are hearing directly from other students. So distance learning will never be able to replace in-class learning. With that said, I think where we are with our distance learning / remote instruction now is much better than we used to be in the past.
In addition, what are the district's plans for allowing students to return to campus safely?
So we have a lot of safety mitigation plans in place in order to allow our students to get back to campus as need be. I'm talking to the high school, so I will talk about our secondary plans. When you get to school, you will notice that there will be one-way signs, there will be social distancing signs. We will be requiring you to be social distanced in your classrooms. You will have partitions that you will have with you, so that it's a partition that goes on top of your desk. You will be required to wear a mask. When you are out and about, you will still be required to socially distance. Obviously, you won't have to social distance at lunch, but you will need to be 6 feet apart when you are having your lunch. You will see increased supervision around to make sure that our students are actually following our social distancing guidelines. Our goal really is to keep our students as safe as possible, to follow all of the safety mitigation practices that we know are working in our county. And we are asking our students to help us with that, because as our students are helping with socially distanced, wearing their mask when they're supposed to, washing their hands frequently, that means that you will be able to be in school. When those things are not happening, that is when we have the potential of having to yo-yo back into remote instruction, because because of an outbreak. So I think we will all be working together to make sure that our safety practices are happening both with students and with staff.
What advice do you have for students as we continue to move forward with distance learning?
So with distance learning, I think I think there are a couple of things. And my first one is going to sound like a mom and probably sound like a teacher. Turn your screen on. And I say turn your screen on because I have to tell myself to turn my screen on. It's so easy to get distracted when your screen is not on. It's super helpful just in your own focus to have the screen on. I also think you have to know yourself and recognize that if you need a screen break, I think it's okay for you to take a screen break. Now, taking a screen break doesn't mean, oh, I'm taking a break from third period. That means, if I need to, while my eyes are really strained, it's okay to turn your screen off for a minute. And I would say keep up, particularly with the 3x3 and the 4x4. I've seen it with my own daughter. It's very easy when you don't have a structured environment to not think about your homework or not to think about the other classwork that you have to do. And that gets you behind. And particularly in a 3x3 and a 4x4 where time is of the essence and everything is compacted into one term, you can't afford to get behind. You can't afford to miss a day of homework, or you can't afford to miss a day of instruction because the clock is always moving. The content is always coming. So the more that you can stay on top of your studies, I would say the better it is and the more successful that you will be. And self-care, take care of yourself. Distance learning is not just about distance learning. We are in distance learning because we are in a pandemic. The social emotional part of this piece is real. The more that you can make connections, even if they are virtual connections, staying connected to your friends, to your family is super duper important. It becomes really easy to sit in a room and watch a screen and then go from your virtual learning screen to your video games, to your cell phone. But the more that you can make connections and try to avoid this solitary nature that could come from distance learning and from being inside with this pandemic, the better. Take care of yourselves. Super important.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Campbell. I know that the students, staff, as well as the community really appreciate your willingness to step up as acting superintendent, and I know that we're all super grateful for all of your hard work that you've put in as acting superintendent.
Thank you to Dr. Campbell for taking the time to answer questions for us. Our students, staff, and parents want to thank you for all you're doing for the SMHS community.
Financial aid is a great way to receive money to help you pay for college. Seniors, FAFSA and the DREAM Act application are now open. Don't miss out on this great opportunity.
CSU applications open October 1st. There will be a workshop held to help fill out CSU applications on October 9th and 10th. Head over to the SMHS website for more information. You can also contact this new college career center.
The county was threatened to go back to purple tier this past week regarding COVID-19 cases. Purple tier would be put in place if the county's infected rate is above a 7% for 14 consecutive days.
This would mean the closings of all indoor activities and would postpone plans put in place for students returning to campus in person.
In the past, while we have been in the red tier, we have had less than 7% case rate, and indoor activities such as dining, worship, gyms, and movie theaters have been available at 25% capacity.
This past Tuesday, we managed to stay on the red tier with a 6.9 case rate, meaning the scheduled returning plans are still moving forward for now.
Remember to keep checking the SMUSD website to stay up to date with all the information for returning to campus as we move forward.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube for full length interviews and behind-the-scenes content that will be posted.
Also, be on the lookout for our upcoming website with articles and more up-to-date information. Our Nights News team is asking that students send in photos from their quarantine and distance learning experience.
Please make sure that all photos are school appropriate and follow CDC guidelines. Submit these photos into
That's it for this week, Knights. Remember to stay focused,
be positive, and we'll see you next week.